Hello and welcome to the big picture. As polling for nearly 40% of the seats to the Lok Sabha is already done, with the campaign scenario seemed to be taking a turn. What started off as a campaign more to do with development and governance issues seemed to be taking a secular versus communal turn, with leading Congress campaigners speaking more and more about ideological battles and secularism. The counter to it is also visible. The Election Commission strictures against the BJP leader Amit Shah and Samajwadi Party leader Azam Khan for using communally polarizing language and barring them from campaigning in Uttar Pradesh also indicates the communal divide. Meanwhile, BJP's Prime Ministerial candidate Narendra Modi, in an interview indicating that the poll verdict will also be on the post-Godhra riots in Gujarat in 2002, has also sharpened the debate. Meanwhile, Aam Aadmi Party leader Kejriwal had been reported to have said that communalism is more dangerous than corruption. So, as we enter the last four phases of poll, has these elections become a secularism versus communalism battle? And if so, what will be the outcome of it? We will discuss all this today with Sheshadri Chari, BJP leader, Prashant, Bhushan, senior leader of the Aam Aadmi Party, Salman, Congress spokesperson, and Vinod Sharma, political editor, Hindustan Times. Welcome to all of you. Salman, I would like to come to you first. Has the Congress now suddenly realized that this is an ideological battle, so we need to talk more and more about issues of secularism and communalism? Because the first few phases, with the first couple or three phases of campaign, we didn't hear so much about this as we have started hearing from your leaders in the last week or so.
Girish, as the election gets closer, I think the issues are brought into much sharper focus. I think that's a natural process. For us and for this country, the election is about a couple of major issues. One is clearly the progress that this country has achieved and what agenda we want to have on economic and social development for the future. But also, we have to look at issues like communalism that can actually set that process, set that momentum back. And that is why, at this time, as the election has progressed, this issue of polarization, as the media has reported from the ground, especially in Uttar Pradesh and other states, it has become much more important. So for me, for our party, both sides, economic development, social development, and also this whole important issue of how we must go together as a nation and not be divided, I think both of these issues are extremely important.
Sheshadri Chari, do you agree with that? Your party is also, the fact that the Election Commission has passed very serious strictures against Amit Shah, not allowed him to campaign in Uttar Pradesh anymore, and that he was indulging in communally polarizing language. So is there a strategy behind converting this whole thing into a communal versus into a communally polarized battle?
From the beginning, did not want it to be an election on these lines, because we seriously and sincerely believe that the youth in the country today and the people of the country are against the Congress. Congress does not stand for secular values at all. We have seen the Congress's secularism much earlier also. Congress was expected to deliver on economic growth. Even that the Congress has not done. So right from day one, we wanted this election to be fought only on the basis of the economic development agenda that the BJP has for itself. As far as the BJP states are concerned, be it Gujarat, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Goa, we have performed on the basis of our electoral promises, and we have improved on the infrastructure, and we have also improved on the delivery mechanism.
Mr. Chari.
Therefore, we don't believe that this country wants elections to be fought on the basis of secularism versus communalism. Number two, there is nowhere, no political party nor the constitution has ever defined what is secularism and what is communalism. To talk about Hindutva, if it is communalism, to talk about Muslim empowerment is also equally communalism. Therefore, let us not get into this debate. The Congress is fighting a losing battle. They are losing very badly.
No, that is not.
That
that's
is the
not
only
issue.
reason why they want to bring all the political discourse on communalism and secularism, which is not going to click in this country anymore.
Mr. Chari, you said that you wanted this whole election to be fought on the issue of governance and development. But how do you explain the kind of statements made by Amit Shah in Uttar Pradesh, because of which he has been he finds himself out of the campaign there?
I don't see anything wrong in what Amit Shah said. Let me very clearly repeat what he said. Amit Shah said the best way to take revenge is to go and vote, cast your vote.
Revenge.
That is the best way.
That's not what he said.
If the election commission has found it wrong, I am very sorry. He has replied to the election commission, and there the matter
After
ends.
the reply, the strictures have come. After they received the reply, they have passed the strictures.
It is okay.
Yeah.
It is okay. We have no issues with the election commission. Amit Shah did not make
No, it's not okay.
any
It's not okay.
inflammatory speech.
Okay, that's
And
your okay.
Amit
Let
Shah
me get.
does not decide. Amit Shah does not decide the future of this party. Amit Shah is not the intellectual repository of BJP. I am telling
I'm
you,
glad you're
BJP
saying
does
that.
not believe in communal and secular divide,
Okay.
and we do not want this election on communal and secular because we see that as a non-issue. The Congress is unable to match the strength of BJP on economic
Okay, you have
issues,
said
and
that.
that
You have
is why
said
they
that.
want to bring the
Okay, you have said that before. Yes, Salman.
entire election debate on to this subject.
Salman, yes, you wanted to intervene.
Well, look, Mr. Chari has to go through lots of gymnastics to get out of the Amit Shah comments. Those were not the only comments he made. Everybody knows that he made inflammatory comments dividing one community and the other, and that is why there were strictures passed against Mr. Amit Shah. The second point is, if you wanted to talk about development, then why did you people have to lie? India is the third largest economy in the world now. That is development, Mr. Chari. By the way, in UPA's time, 14 crore poor people have been lifted out of poverty in NDA's 6 years. People who
Then why are you not going and telling none of your leaders?
Okay.
No, I'm
Mr.
just
Soos,
then why are you
Mr.
lying?
Soos.
Why are you lying?
Okay.
Why
None of
is
your
BJP lying
leader is
using all sorts
making
of
this a
corporate
point.
money? Also the corporate
None of
money.
your leader
For
wants
the
to
third
make this point.
No, Mr. Chari, just answer one question. Mr. Chari, answer one question. Okay, Amit Shah is not the fountainhead of your intellectual capital. Let me ask you, because you are one of the intellectuals of the BJP, let me ask you a simple question. If somebody says the following, what should we do? Run relief camps for them? Do we want to open baby producing centers? Hum 5, hamare 25. We bought
Okay.
Narmada waters during Shravan. If it were a Congress party, it would be Ramzan. What does it mean, Mr. Chari?
Okay.
Tell me, how is it not divisive? And this is what Mr. Modi said in 2002
These are-
Gaurav Yatra. Deny
these are-
it. Come on,
these
deny it.
are-
Let me see.
These are selectively taken out of some speeches.
These are-
I want you to repeat the speeches
No,
that were
this
made,
is-
and
Okay.
this is not the time and place to repeat the entire speech. But let
This
me
is-
tell
these
you,
are his
Okay.
words.
let me
Sheshadri,
tell you,
I
it
think
is the same Modi.
Sheshadri, Chari and
Tell me.
Salman,
Mr. Soos,
Salman and
it is the
Sheshadri,
same
Chari,
Modi
let us
who
not
has won
convert this
3
only into
elections.
your...
He has won 3 elections
Lies.
in
Lies
is all you
Gujarat.
Okay,
3 elections.
Okay, please,
let me get
others on the panel.
3 times.
Sheshadri, Chari and Salman, let me get others on the panel. Let me get others on the panel.
We know.
Mr. Prashant Bhushan, do you think that this has become a secularism versus communalism battle? Your leader, Kejriwal, has also been reported to have said that communalism is a bigger threat than corruption. So you think that even the Aam Aadmi Party would like to see that this whole campaign is shifted to this issue?
No, we don't want the whole campaign to be shifted to this issue. So far as the Aam Aadmi Party is concerned, this election is a historic election in more senses than one. For the first time, the people of this country have an option for a very different kind of political party, different from these mainstream parties like the Congress, the BJP, the Samajwadi Party, the Bahujan Samaj Party, which are all firstly have become thoroughly corrupt, which have all become puppets of the same crony capitalists of the same corporate houses like Reliance, etc., and which have all been guilty of using communal and divisive politics from time to time. To some extent, in every election, communal and divisive politics is used. So far as the Congress, the Samajwadi Party, etc. are concerned, they use communalism in an opportunistic way. But so far as the BJP and particularly Mr. Modi is concerned, communalism is in their DNA. They are, by their whole DNA, by their whole ideology, they are communal. The BJP is a communal party. It is part of this parivar called the Sangh Parivar. That is why, and Mr. Modi, who is now their chosen leader, he is the most divisive and the most communal leader in the history of the BJP who has ever come to head the BJP. He is clearly a fascist kind of figure, and that is why as soon as he was anointed as the leader of the BJP and their prime ministerial candidate, Mr. Rajnath Singh immediately called a meeting of this larger Sangh Parivar, including people from the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, the Bajrang Dal, the RSS, etc., and they devised a common strategy.
I think we have to have a level playing field in this. I do not want to listen. I do not want to listen to this crap from Bhushan.
Please don't use such words.
I can also
please
go
don't
into
use
the
such
history of
words.
Aam Aadmi Party.
Please don't use such words.
I can go into the history of Aam Aadmi
Sheshadri,
Party.
Chari, please.
As far as Aam Aadmi Party is concerned,
Sheshadri, Chari, you can't just go on like this. I'll give you a chance.
They have not put up any candidate against Mr. Raja. They have not put up any candidate against Sonia Gandhi. They have not put up any candidate against any Muslim candidate.
Why do you keep lying, Mr. Chari?
Your
party,
we don't want quantification from Aam Aadmi Party as far as nationalism is concerned.
And
let
make
the
that
Aam
kind
Aadmi
of
Party speak
false
for their
allegations.
own party.
Prashant,
Before
my
criticizing
question.
the BJP, they should know
Mr. Chari,
in what kind of water they are standing.
Mr. Chari, please. There's no.
Why
If
are
you
you
go on like this,
going
you
for
cannot.
this
I'll have to shut
I
your.
want this
I'll have to
debate
shut
on
your. I'll have to shut
intellectual
your this
platform.
thing. If you go on, let us have a
Mr.
proper
Girish
debate.
Nikam, please
You
listen.
cannot just go on like this. 1 minute.
Mr. Girish Nikam,
I will come to you, Mr. Chari. When I come to you, you can
blame us
answer.
as a fascist.
I have a
I
question.
cannot take it on your studio.
I have a question for Mr. Prashant Bhushan. I will come to you. When I come to you, you can say what you need to say. Mr. Prashant, so after having said all this what you have said, so you think that the issue of secularism and the issue of communalism are serious issues which needs to be debated in this election?
No, certainly they have become serious issues. They are always serious issues. We have always been saying that these mainstream political parties fight and win election on the basis of three things: corruption and money power which they get on account of corruption; communalism. As I said, most of these parties or many of these parties are opportunistically communal or casteist.
No, but
the BJP is different in the sense that it is ideologically communal.
okay.
The third
yes.
Is this muscle power and this criminals. So there are these three C's which are used: corruption, communalism, and criminals in their bid for power.
Okay.
And the interesting thing about, or the historic thing about this election is that for the first time there is one party, the Aam Aadmi Party, which has stood up against corruption, against communalization, and against criminalization of politics.
Okay.
It's a party which has been born to change this whole system.
Okay.
By which politics is being increasingly driven by these forces.
Okay, so Vinod Sharma, in the last few days especially, whether it is Sonia Gandhi, whether it is Priyanka Gandhi, whether it is Rahul Gandhi, especially all these three, they have been focusing on the issue of secularism. They have been focusing on the issue of divisive politics, and and Priyanka Gandhi has also been saying about it's an ideological war. So you think that the Congress party is deliberately changing its strategy and trying to focus on these issues now more than the issues of development and governance because they seem to have a problem there.
Well, Girish, every political party chooses its own talking points. And I think that the Congress, by raising the secular versus communal issue, is trying to hit the BJP where it hurts the most. Because BJP has been, and I'm making a very objective assessment, I think Mr. Chari will permit me time. You see, the BJP has been trying to show itself as inclusive, while the underpinning of its entire agenda is, exclusionary, so to speak. I mean, let's use words which are digestible to each other. Now, in a country like India, which has 20 crore Muslims living here, which is more than the population of Pakistan, I think that the responsibility for keeping the electoral process inclusive, the political discourse inclusive, and to give the people of that community a sense of belonging rests with every other party, including the Aam Aadmi Party, if I may say so, including the left, the Samajwadi, the Bhushan Samajwadi, and the Congress. We may not like them for various reasons, but I think that they do make a contribution. But I would at the same time point out that the Congress party has in recent days been also attacking the economic model of Mr. Modi in Gujarat. While Mr. Modi questions from his standpoint the misgovernance, the corruption bit, and the lack of the duality of leadership in the Congress party. So, and the Aam Aadmi Party, as Prashant just now adumbrated, has its own issues to propagate. Now, you see, that's the beauty of Indian democracy. I mean, you can't fool the people.
No, but
You can't fool the people. They know. They are just imbibing whatever each side is saying. They are internalizing it, and they'll come out and vote. But at the same time, I would say, it now rests with the institutional democracy, so to speak, the election commission, for instance, or even I think the Supreme Court, if there is a need for a suo motu intervention, though by their own judgments they say that matter has to be left to the EC during while the country is in the election code. No, listen, the election commission has not been able, I think is too dated in its system and its approach to be sort of encountering and finding immediate solutions to gross violations of model code. No, yesterday we had, on the eve of the polling, and I wish somebody from Mr. Soos or Mr. Prashant Bhushan had mentioned this, we had Mr. Modi giving a detailed interview which is all over the channels, even after the campaigning has come to an end for various constituencies that went to polls today. This is the biggest single shot polling that has happened today, 20 crore people for over 120 odd seats. And I haven't heard a word from the election commission till now. No. I mean, and he said, and the kind of terminology which was used, Girish, that I hang me by the square. I mean, that is not Indian culture. That is Talibanization. Please, for God's sake.
Vinod, what the point you're making is valid and important, but we are going slightly moving away from the topic. My question to you is the debate on secularism versus communalism debate, is it a valid debate in these circumstances? Will it enhance the quality of campaign in this country if this whole election centers around this debate?
It is. You know why? Mr. Rajnath Singh the other day went to Shia clerics to seek their support because his Lucknow seat is turning out to be a bit difficult in terms of the contest. And I was very happy that he reached out to the minority, a section of the minority community, because he represents a political party. Maybe he went there as a contestant from Lucknow and not as a BJP president. Had he gone there as BJP president, then he should have been asked that how many Muslims have been fielded, how many Muslims have been given by the BJP a direct stake in the promised development. I'm saying that, unless somebody has to come across as being seen as giving a sense of belonging to those 20 crore people who have been ignored by the party that aspires to be in power.
Okay.
They have been ignored in terms of seat allocation entirely. Only one seat has
No, no,
gone,
that's the
which
one
is
we'll
available to
tell-
that community.
No, we'll not come into the cake. And Sheshadri Chari, one of the points made by Vinod Sharma is that the Congress party's strategy to discuss, to bring the issue of secularism versus communalism is a deliberate strategy probably, because it hurts the BJP most. Would you agree with that?
No, I don't agree
Because
with this at all.
earlier you were saying that we didn't want this debate to happen. We wanted the debate to be kept at the level of governance and development. So obviously there is some amount of discomfort when these issues are discussed as
Not
far as
at
the
all.
BJP is concerned.
Not at all. We are least bothered. We are not feeling the discomfort at all. Because even during the days of Jansang, Mr. Vinod Sharma knows very well, Mrs. Indira Gandhi used to say that Jansang ye baniyon ki party hai. It is a traders party. The discourse even during Jansang was that it was a traders party. It was only after the issue of the coalition government started, and in the last 1 or 2 decades, especially after the power center in the Congress shifted into the hands of Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, it is the communal versus secular debate has entered into the Congress's debate. And in these last 10 years, if the Congress are so concerned about the communal and secular issue, they could have done much more. The most important element in this is wherever there is a BJP government, there has been no communal tension, and there has been equal distribution of resources
So
and
you are
equal
not.
distribution
So you are
of
not.
government's
So
schemes.
you are not uncomfortable with this
Therefore,
debate. You are
as
not
a- as a
uncomfortable with
matter
this
of-
debate, and the
as a matter
BJP
of
would like to
principle-
debate this issue.
As a matter of principle, we don't see Muslims and Hindus as vote banks. We see them as equal citizens of this country. We have
Okay.
made it amply
Okay.
clear.
Salman,
Therefore, we
quick.
don't want to get into this kind of communal versus secular debate at all.
At all. Salman, quickly.
Well, yeah. You see, the point is, when Godhra happened and then the riots took place, if Mr. Modi in his Gaurav Yatra had basically taken the stance, the following stance, and you can be the best judge of this. Whatever happened in Godhra, that heinous crime, and whatever happened in Narodia Patia, and whatever happened in Gulberg colony, I'm going to catch all of those perpetrators because they're all our enemies. If he had said those words during his Gaurav Yatra, we would not be talking about this issue today.
Okay.
But Mr. Modi is the same person who divided these two communities then, and he is actually in his heart. Whatever face you see right now, it's a lie. What is
Okay.
in his heart is
Okay.
something completely different. It is Hindutva. That
Okay.
is what they're comfortable with. That is
No,
what
no,
their
no,
ideology
oh,
is.
Salman
And by the
got
way,
it.
when they could not beat us in 2004 and
Girish,
2009,
Salman, I got
there
your
is one
point.
distortion
Salman,
driving
I got
everything
your
else right
point.
now.
Your party would like to discuss and debate this. Yes, Vinod, before I go to Prashant, quickly.
No, I just want to say one thing that Maulana Jawad, after his meeting with Mr. Rajnath Singh, compared him with Atal Bihari Vajpayee
Yes.
and said that the community is scared of Mr. Narendra Modi. I haven't heard a word in reaction to that from the BJP. I mean, it's amazing. You see, he goes and interfaces with this man to get his support to win that election, and that man comes out with this statement, and Mr. Rajnath Singh willingly accepts the compliment. But at the same time,
No,
he
that-
ignores.
obviously-
He ignores entirely
Yes.
the comment made about Mr. Modi by the Shia cleric. Now, you see, there is an element of contradiction in the BJP's campaign. It is
Absolutely.
very forceful today against the Congress, I must admit. They are very strong on corruption, they are very strong on misgovernance, they are very strong on the state of the economy. But when it comes to social accord, when it comes to bringing people together, that's their weak wicket. Because
Okay,
when Mr.
Vinod,
Modi talks about the pink revolution
No, no,
and
well-
says we are having a pink revolution when the country requires a green revolution, then the RSS goes around seeking vote on Hindu unity in Muzaffarnagar area, then they celebrate the accused in the riots on the stage before Mr. Modi arrives. Whom are they fooling on this issue?
Okay. Prashant, last words. Prashant, last words to you. You think that in Banaras there will be this issue will be the major issue, secularism versus communalism, because that is where all the eyes will be focused now after today's phase of polling has ended. You think that this is an issue which needs to be discussed and debated thoroughly without having to hide behind certain convenient words.
No, that is certainly an important issue, but to our mind, an even more important issue is this whole issue of corruption. Mr.
Then
Modi
why did
Kejriwal say
Kejriwal communalism is more important than corruption then?
No, I don't think he said that. He said communalism is equally important as corruption.
So now it has become equally important.
Communalism has the potential of dividing and destroying this country. Corruption also has the potential of destroying the country. Today, Mr. Modi is running, this is a unique campaign being run in the history of this country, where the entire campaign is just completely centered around this person who claims that he has provided good corruption-free governance in Gujarat. And when you examine those claims, you find that the claims are totally hollow, totally false. He didn't allow a Lok Ayukt to be set up in Gujarat for 10 years. He has kept all kinds of corrupt people in his ministry. He does not say a word about this biggest scam that takes place of gas price hike. And then we find that instead of that, he himself, his own company, the Gujarat State Petroleum Corporation, asked for double the hike. Instead of the price of gas being raised from $4 to $8, he asked for the gas price to be raised to $14.
1 second, Chari, I'll come to you.
And that is why, you see, corruption will be, in my view, the biggest issue in the campaign in Varanasi. Of course, communalism will also be a major issue there.
Okay,
Girish,
Chari, very quickly, last words to you.
When it comes to economic development, corruption and other such issues, Congress is on a weak wicket. When it comes to other such issues, the Aam Aadmi Party is also on the issue of governance. They are in a much more weaker wicket. And their own chief, Arvind Kejriwal, has agreed that we made a mistake in quitting the government in Delhi, and he is not finding an issue to fight the BJP or the Congress. Therefore, it suits both Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress to shift the focus to a non-issue like this. But the youth in this country, the Muslim youth, the Hindu youth, and all the youth that you can think of, do not want this debate at all, and they are looking for a change, and that is what is going to happen on the 16th of May.
So they are these two parties are on weak wicket on those two issues, and BJP is on a weak wicket when it comes to communalism.
No, not at all. We are not on a weak wicket. We are able to answer these issues.
That's what. On that note, we need to end. Thanks to all my guests. This is an issue which I'm sure in the coming 3 weeks that we still have for the elections in this country, there will be a lot more discussion on this issue, because this is something which every party seems to be highlighting now. Thanks to all my guests, Sheshadri, Chari, Salman, Prashant, Bhushan and Vinod Sharma. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue and big picture same time tomorrow.